Hey guys, Kyle the Death Knight of Anime here, bringing you my review for Eden Zero, Chapter 109. Okay, so to start off with a bang, we get to see the real reason that the planet has basically earned its name Red Cave, which is from the near impossible trial in order to reach the Mother Beacon by walking through a cave that's basically a landmine of fire, lava, and magma, which saying that out loud makes me realize just how much of a fucking madman, mad lad, whatever the fuck you want to call him, Mashima truly is with this setup. Because while it wasn't explicitly stated where exactly the trial is located, like we only know it's taking place in a cave. But the fact that there's magma, there's fire, there's magma, there's fire, there's lava, there's all this stuff, that's just seeing our heroes attempt this trial in itself is enough to tell us all we need to know, which is they, if you really look at this setup, our heroes were more or less traversing the pathway through an undersea volcano, or best case scenario, the pathway connected to one. Like really, that's kind of the only conclusion you can draw through is that because it is still by all technical because Red Cave is still by all technical definitions a fire planet, it would only make sense that the route in order to get to the beacon would basically be in some kind of is in some kind of basically cavern that kind of leads to a volcano, or just underneath the volcano itself. And it's it's one of those things which isn't, and again, it's one of those things that isn't too surprising, again, seeing as how Red Cave was initially known as the Fire Planet. But actually seeing what our heroes have to do in order to get to the Mother Beacon, it actually puts even more perspective on how difficult to almost near impossible path reaching Mother really is. Like, if there's even something as simple but dangerous as this like cave of molten and magma and whatnot getting in our hero's way, then yeah, it really gives us perspective that the path to get to Mother, it's definitely a difficult one, and it's only going to get more difficult. Like I I hate to I hate to say it, but I think this just proves that basically the an underground, like pretty much fire and like fire like the fiery cave, I think is going to be the least of our heroes' worries. The much further that they end up going from here. Like, it's if this is only the first test to get to the first beacon or whatnot, then yeah, our heroes are in for even more treacherous trials and journey ahead of us. Like really, an undersea volcano, a cave that's probably an undersea volcano. Like, yeah, you really can't get more mad insane than that. Like, but knowing Mashima, he probably can. Like, the man is just a madman for just this setup alone, and I somehow kind of love it. Um, and with the later reveal in this chapter of Laguna being the person who can help them, it is one of those times where initially you don't think much about like what makes him so special compared to any other person with a water-based ether gear. But then you basically not only remember the basis of how his power works, but also what was happening to our heroes while they were fighting through the heat. You realize he is really the perfect ally to have in this situation, because if you look at what was happening to our heroes, obviously as they were fighting through the fire, the magma, the lava, all that stuff, they were perspiring like mad during and after their initial attempt. And if you remember, just the base again, just going off the basis of Laguna's powers, each drop of sweat, each tear is a dangerous weapon that, when used by Laguna, is strong enough to pierce through even the strongest amount of heat, if given the right amount of, if especially if given the right amount to work with. and again, if what our heroes went through is any indication, he is going to have a lot to work with when he teams up with our heroes. Like again, just with the amount that our heroes were perspiring, like sweating, all that stuff, like all the sweat they were covered in, it was a weapon that Laguna can use. So yeah, it's and and when he does finally team up with the heroes, so he's gonna have a lot to work with. And the thing is, talking about this and like Laguna himself, it's kind of one of those situations. Talking about how Laguna like serves into the narrative of how they can get through the cave. It's one of those. It's one of those things where even before the basic reveal, it's basically a very genius thing of adding Laguna in the sense where even before Laguna himself was even revealed, it was set up so brilliantly with basically what our heroes were doing that by the time we actually got to the that by the time we actually got to the we actually got to the revelation of Laguna being the one that Witch was looking for. By the time we got there, it was like, oh yeah, it was just clarification that the Laguna is the best person to have in this situation. Like the setup again, the setup in itself is just so perfect that you kind of the setup in itself is just so perfect that you kind of already know, like, oh yeah, okay, so Laguna, you kind of need Laguna in this situation. Like that, your mind naturally clicks to Laguna that yeah, that they're perspiring, and who can use that as a weapon? Laguna. So yeah, it's one of those very neat kind of things where we you can kind of already figure out pretty early on who they kind of need as an ally here, but then to actually see it, it's like yeah, it's kind of insane. Um, Now, if I did have an issue with this chapter, is that once again, for as much as I don't hate Mashima's sense of humor, this felt like a time where he needed to dial it back just a touch because again, there were a couple moments where reading this chapter that kind of took me out of the serious nature of the situation and just in general felt like he was kind of holding on to a comedic scenario too long. Because like the thing when it comes to Mashima's comedic sensibilities for me is he's basically great when the humor is quick and fast, like quick, fast, and doesn't hold on a moment too long. And there were a couple moments like that, such as the extension core gag with Nadia. But once we entered the cave, that is kind of where things did drag a touch with the humor, and like I wanted them to take it. I wanted him, even though I know that there's going to be humor in a Hero Mashima series either way. That is kind of at a point where I wanted to take it just a little bit more seriously. But yeah. Um, with that said, and maybe I'm overthinking it too much, but I really want to know what Laguna is doing on Blue Garden. I mean, it does make sense for him to be on a water planet since he has, again, since it allows him an ample use of his powers. But the fact that he is there to begin with tells me he's basically there for more than just in order to pursue a pretty much career in the theater. Like, and even going off that, the fact that he was basically like in disguise or something like that tells me he's basically trying to protect himself and hide away from someone or something, which considering how much the government, I assume, is cracking down ever since Draken Joe's defeat, I'm not too surprised. But yeah, I wonder if there's more to basically why Laguna is on Blue Garden to begin with. But yeah, guys, that's really all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Crunchyroll. That Night of Anime, signing off. Later, guys.